Hey everybody, it's Nathan Selove with another edition of Autism Actually Speaking. Welcome to my new studio setup. I'm now in a place where I actually have room to put my lights, so that should add some consistency between shots. Anyways, I just started my new job as an adjunct professor, and because the college year is starting, I thought it was a good time to go ahead and talk about advice for autistics who have just started college. Now, hopefully this can also help out people that have maybe been in college for a little bit, but haven't heard some of these pieces of advice. And there might even be a few things on this list that even if you're not autistic, there might be some good pointers. The first few days of college. I remember those days, the days of ramen, Family Guy binges with chips and salsa, and needing to turn down my Netflix because my neighbor is trying to sleep. My first piece of advice, and unfortunately this will mainly be limited to people that already have a diagnosis, register with disability services. Go to your college's Office of Disability Services and make sure that they know who you are. They're the ones that get you in-class accommodations. Try to get access to any accommodation that you think you might need. Even if you never end up using the accommodation, it's good to make sure that they are there on paper so they are an option for you. For example, one of the accommodations that I had requested when I was in college was for more time on exams. I have reading disabilities, which usually make me test a little bit longer than other people. Now, I almost never used this accommodation because most of the teachers did a lot for quite a bit of time for each exam, but it was still good to have for the times that I did need it. So even if it's something that you're not sure that you're going to use each time, you should still request it in case you might need it. My second piece of advice is, and this extends to people that do not have a diagnosis, talk to your professors at the beginning of class. So if they have time at the beginning of class, go up and introduce yourself, or if you need to, go to their office hours, do that instead. It's always good to have one-on-one time with your professor. And this allows you to discuss some of the specifics of how autism affects you personally. For example, I've always been a very argumentative person, and in some classes that adds to it, because some classes are based around argumentation, dialogue, and debate. However, in other classes, sometimes the professor just needs to move on and go to the next topic. So I would make sure at the beginning of each semester to go to my professors and let them know that they can be just direct with me and be like, okay, well, we need to move on now, and that I would make sure to listen to them when they said that. My third piece of advice is to settle into a routine. If you're like me, then you have trouble with change, and going to college is a major change. So what you need to do is basically turn it into your new routine. Make that new routine the new norm, and it will be easier to cope with. My fourth piece of advice would be you should try to find a social group, but you also shouldn't feel compelled to be at major social engagements. For example, partying is a huge thing in college. I went to a few parties and I enjoyed them, but I didn't like to go to the big ones because I don't like being around a lot of people. So you shouldn't feel pressured to go to huge wild house parties just because you think that's what you do in college. Alternatively, you could do what I do, which was find a sort of smaller social group and hang out with them more. I was on the speech team, and what was nice about them was that when we would have our little get-togethers or parties or whatever, it was a really small group. So I didn't have to deal with a lot of people, and I had plenty of spaces that I could go to, and everybody knew me, so everybody knew not to judge me if I was overwhelmed and needed to leave. Most college campuses have a lot of different groups, so try to find one that suits your special interest. Be around people that share that. My last piece of advice, and this seems really simple and can probably be applied to advice for not just autistics, but neurotypicals as well, but I think that this is important as a lecturer because I run into this sometimes and it's irritating to say the least. If you are missing a class and you are emailing your instructor to let them know you are missing their class, never, ever, 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 ever ask them, am I missing anything important? For teachers, our classes are our livelihood and our special interest. So if you are missing our class, in our mind, you are missing something important. That's just a little bit of life advice for everybody. College was a very good time for me. It allowed me to pursue my special interests in a very concentrated manner. And I think that college in and of itself is a great environment for many autistics. But it can be challenging. So I hope that the pieces of advice in this video help to make your college experience the best it can possibly be. Well, that's today's episode. Thank you all for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a like, a share, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, check out some of my other stuff, and if you want to support the channel in other ways, support me on Patreon. In the meantime, if you have any questions or topics you'd like addressed, please leave them in the comments below, or message me on my Facebook, also linked below. And remember, if you only have 2 modes of dress, which are super formal or super casual, you might be autistic.